So I just wanted to do a little overview and maybe review, or give you my thoughts on the deck building game from Star Trek: The Next Generation, which also one is out for the original series if that's what you like. But even if you're not a Star Trek fan, I am a Star Trek fan. I love both Next Generation or original series. I actually want to get the original series because it looks so cool. But it's the same kind of play, so once you know one, you pretty much know the other. But even if you're not a Star Trek fan, but you like deck building game, this one may be for you because it's different than other deck building game. I love Thunderstone, and I know that Dominion, even though I haven't played Dominion, and I know don't kill me for it, but I will at one point. But I know it's kind of the same idea, deck building game. But this one has some kind of new twist to it, and there's so much you can do on your turn that it's also one of the reasons why some criticism said that the game has a long, it's long between turns. There's a downtime to it between turns because of the things you can do, and it takes some while and whatever, which is true. But once you know the game, once you play with people who are more experienced into it, that kind of goes away and the game becomes much faster. But let me go into why I think this game is good. And it's really good, and probably even better than I've read it online from reviews. Let's go first over quickly the board. As most of the deck building game, you have a space where you're gonna have a card you can buy, and then you have your basic cards that you always available for you to buy. Those are used specifically to get enough XP for you to be able to buy cards. You have a hand of cards. I mean, you have cards in your hand that are basic, that everybody has the same cards, 10 of them. And then you pick 5. After shuffling your deck, you will take 5 cards in your hand and start with these 5 cards. If you know, hopefully you know the basis of deck building game, because I'm not going to go too much into that. I'm just going to go more into why this one is it's a little bit different than the others, and I think it's a breath of fresh air. And I would hope other deck building game will do something a little bit more similar to this. You also start with a starship, okay, basic, that everybody has the same, with a number of health, which joins 8, which is really right here, tells you the number of health. I'll go over what this means. So you put your 8. I wish they had done, this is my complaint for that game, first of all, a D20 for the health. I find it cheap on everybody who does that. It's okay if I do that for a game that I want to keep score for, but if you're going to put in the box a tracking of your health for anything, in this case the starship, give me something better than a D20, man. Give me like a little board with, maybe a wheel that turns or something, with maybe the Star Trek insignia. Make it look a little bit better. That's the only thing I think that they a little bit missed the boat on it. But it's not a big deal. That's not going to deter anybody from playing the game, I hope. There's also a mission deck. This is where you get most of your, or almost all of your victory points. Once you get to 400, that's in the rule, 400, then the first player at 400 wins. You can change that. You can make it whatever you want. So what can you do during your turn? So once you pick your 5 cards, there is few things you can do. And you can do all those things, all those actions that you take in any order. And you don't have to take any of them. You choose. You can take them all in any order you want. Okay? So that's an important thing. Because of this, and again, that's probably why sometimes it's a downtime and it takes a lot of people a lot of thinking. Here's the reason why. In your first games, when you've never played a game before, you're going to take a lot of time between turns. For few reasons. First reason that I find in my case is that the place where you go and buy cards, which is one of the most important since it's a deck building game, it's not going to stay the same all the time. In most deck building games that I know, once you pick the cards, it's going to be on the place where you buy them. Either the village for Thunderstone, or I'm not sure what Dominion calls it. This is called the Starbase. Well, they're not going to always be the same, because during your turn you'll be able to discard a card and pick one from here and replace it. You'll be able to buy a card and then pick one of them and replace it. So you're always going to have this moving around. So that means that you need to know what all of those cards' special ability are. And because they're moving, even if you read all of them right now, later on there's going to be a new card coming in. And there is few cards are the same, few cards have doubles, but like most of the guys, like the main characters, all the characters, there's no doubles. There's doubles in some of the maneuvers and stuff like that, but not the characters. So every time a character comes in, you're going to have to reread that or read that card for the first time and find out what it does. That's why in the beginning, when you start the game, it's kind of time consuming to know what they do. And they really have different things. I mean, they really have different abilities from one character to the other. They are completely different one to the other. So you need to know what they do before you can pick the card, which means you're going to have to read it. And sometimes while you play the game with 3 or 4 people, you may see the ball at one point here like that, and you say, what happened to the card? Well, because somebody has this card in his hand while he's reading it. And while you're trying to pick which card you want to buy. So yes, it's going to get some time consuming. You're going to have to learn a little bit about the cards, but once you've played a few times, you will get much better. I promise that. So during your turn, depending on the card you have in hand, you'll be able to buy one of those cards, okay? So let's say I want to buy a card. I will have to use XPs, which are usually found in the basic cards. But whatever you find a card that has XP on it, and it says a plus with a 2 XP, 1 XP, 3 XP, whatever it is, those are how many XP you have. I have 5 right here. That means I can buy a card that costs 5. And if you look at the top right corner of the card, you see a number. 8 for Riker, 9 for Tog, and this warp speed maneuver card has a 6, and so forth. So if you had 5, you won't be able to buy any of those. You will have to look for 5, which there's none, right? So another action you can do during your turn is to search the deck, and you can only do that once per turn. So since there is no 5 cards, let me search for one. So let's say I'm gonna discard a card. Let me just pick this guy and discard him, and then pick another one and I put it here, and then look up, boom, look at that, there she are, and she's 5. So I could say, okay, since I have 5 XP, I'm taking this card, put it on my discard pile. Let me make some space. This is my discard pile right here, and then I can use it the next turn, like a deck building. And then you will take the next card on the top and then replace it. All right. So that's pretty much what you can do. One of your things you can do. Another thing you can do is use the ability of certain cards. Like this one says that you can discard any number of cards that you have in your hand and then draw the same number of cards. So you can discard 3 cards in your hand, pick another 3 cards. That means you don't want them. That's what this card does. This card here is the Starfleet Academy. Lets you upgrade one character in your hand or your bridge to a character from the starbase costing 2 or more. So you could upgrade that guy, is in your hand. It has a cost of 3, so you could pick someone from the starbase that has 3, 4, or 5. Alright? But let's talk about this aspect of the game where you can do a few actions in different ways, or not that. You can do actions anytime you want, in any order. It's very important because, let me give you an example, because this is a perfect example with those cards I have here. Okay? Not Jordi, but those 3 cards here. And what I just did with Tashiar, here's the way it could work. Let's imagine I didn't buy Tashiar, right? So let's put her back here. I decided that what I'm going to do first, I'm going to use my Starfleet, my Starfleet ability, Starfleet Academy ability, to upgrade one of my character in my hand. Now, if you look at the word here, there is 2 words that in this deck building game you're going to have to really pay attention. End and bridge. What is the difference? The end is the card that you haven't played yet. They're still in your hand. The bridge is the card that you just played. When you play a card, you put it in front of you, and it's considered to be on your bridge. Once it's on your bridge, it's not in your hand anymore. So any card's ability that talks about your hand, you can't say, oh, wait, I didn't know, let me take it back. No, it's too late. You've played it on your bridge, it's on your bridge. So imagine I wanted to buy Tashior like I did before I use this ability. And I say, okay, look at that. I have 5 XP. I'm putting those guys on my bridge. Right there. They're on my bridge. So I have 5 XP. I'm buying Tashior. I put Tashior on the side. Okay, a discarder. Now I want to play this ability. Well, this ability actually says upgrade 1 character in your hand or your bridge to a character from the starbase. So I can do now is I will be able to play that card on my bridge, get one of my character from my bridge. This one happens to be 3. That means it will be 3 plus 2, 5. So now I could get another character with 5. And there's none right here, at least not yet. Oh, he has 1. Now I could buy him again. You see, because I use the upgrade ability. So I will get this guy, discard it on my pile, take this guy, discard it here, because you can have it. Once you upgrade a character, the other characters it go here if it's a character you got from the starboard base. If it's a basic character, it goes back into this pile. Let me just do this quickly. Forget about that. Oh, I will talk about that. That's something else, but let's forget about that right now. So you take another card here, and now on my bridge I have 2 crew members now, but I was able to get 2 new crew members. Okay, let's come back and show you what I was talking about. Let's put people back. Let's put Tashior back here, right? The way it was in the beginning. This is my end. Let's say I decide to say I'm going to use my upgrade character ability first, right? So I say, okay, I'm going to use this and upgrade a character in my hand, right? So I put it in the bridge. I get this guy from my hand. Again, 3. Okay, so now I can get Tashior. So I put it back, take Tashior, discarder, gets a new card, put it here. Okay, no problem. But now I only have 2 more characters in my hand. And now I only have 3 XP. Because the other XP had to be discarded because I upgraded with Tashior. But Tashior goes into my discard pile. So I can't use her now. So now I only have 3 XP. So now I can't buy anything. Remember I was able to get that guy before? Now I can't. So it's very important to know in which order to play your cards. I should have used my XP first, even though I put the characters on the bridge, because this ability says you can upgrade a character on your end or your bridge, then it would be fine. I could have done that and still get a character from my bridge and discard it. But you have to be careful. Some ability, let's an example right here. The diagnostic check says that you can discard any number of cards in your hand or from your hand, then do the same. So now if I play this guy after I've done all this, I have no more card in my hand, only 1, Jordi LaForge. Right? But I cannot discard him because the only way I'm going to get that ability is if I put him on the bridge and I use him. If I put him on the bridge and the ability says discard any card in your hand, now I have 0 card in my hand, I can't even use this guy. So I'll have to find out first, is there any cards in my hand I don't want? Then use him first, put him on the bridge. Okay? Then is there anything I want to buy with the XP I have before I start upgrading? If yes, then go ahead and do it. Then finally, once they're on the bridge, then you can use this because this one says and or bridge, and then you can do it. So I hope you kind of understand what I just said. I went quick, and you may be like, what the hell did you just say? But the point is, the order in which you're going to do those different actions is very important. And this is, to my knowledge, one of the only deck building games there's so much different action you can do, and you have to be careful in which order you do them because you have to maximize your end every time. Then of course when you're done with everything you do, you will discard those cards and pick another 5. But before that there is something else. Yes, there is more. Once you have your characters on your bridge, so we're going to imagine that we had that, right? We did, the last one was the best because we got 2 characters. And this is our bridge now. Every card has a color bar on the bottom with 4 different colors. Alright? Those colors are, green is speed, red is combat, blue is diplomacy, and yellow is shield or health, depending on the card. For example, the starship card says, I don't know if you can see it, let me see if I can zoom that, or no, it's not gonna work. Anyway, it says defense, right? That's what they call it, defense. Okay, but if you add other card, like let me see if I can find one. Of course I can't. Some cards, of course there's none. Anyway, there's some cards where on the yellow you will see 2 shields, 3 shields, 5 shields, whatever, or sometimes there is excess. That means depending on how many character on your bridge, that's how many shields you will get, and so forth. So this is what this represents. And because you put those cards and you've placed them on your bridge, now you can use those cards, those characters, maneuvers, or whatever it is that you have. You put them on top of each other like that, you align them, and now you have an idea of how many speed you have, how much combat you have, how much diplomacy you have, and how much shield or health you have, or defense, let's call it, shield and defense you have for your bridge right now at this moment. And now you can decide if you want to go do a mission, which is over there. The way the mission works is it's part of one of your action you can do. You can do it in the beginning of the game, you can do it at the end. Most people will do it at the end once they have all their, characters and maneuvers in their bridge. They will finally do that. And sometimes you don't want to do that in the beginning of the game, like a Thunderstone. And I'm going to come back to Thunderstone because I played it more than any other thing. But you don't go to the dungeon in the first couple of turns. You have to get your team ready. Your party has to be ready with all the weapons they need and all the spells or whatever it is that you want to use before you start getting to the dungeon. Here, on top of that, you don't know what you're fighting. If you fight anything, could be missions or could be other starship you're going to fight. Okay, so if you're ready and you say, okay, I'm going to go in the mission, so you're going to turn that card, put it on the side here, and you're going to see what it is. So in this case, it's a starship, and you're going to fight that. Now I know what some people have said. Why is it that if I'm the Federation, I am fighting another Federation starship? That doesn't make any sense. Just imagine that, a Khan stole it, and now he's coming after you, right? Whatever, make a story. But the point is, there's going to be different starship from the Klingon, the Romulan, and the game is even have a specific gameplay for the Borg, which I will not go into it, or the Klingon, but here you will fight the starship. So the way you fight the starship, you need to have the same amount of speed. Sorry about that. Got distracted for a minute here. I'm back. So there is 2 ways to get to win against a starship. You can fight it in a combat and try to destroy it, or you can diplomacy it, which simply means you take it over. Combat, it's easy. You will look at the speed of that ship, you compare it with your speed, and then the fastest ship, the one with the most speed, will fire first. Okay, so in this case, remember, use your ship too. So you would want to put all your bridge card on top of your starship, because your starship counts 2 towards the total. So right now, what I have is 2 speed. Okay, give me +1/+1. 2 combat. No shields, but I have 8 defense. So because I have 2, and this ship that I'm combating has also 2 speed, we will deal damage together. If I was faster, I will deal damage first, and if that ship is destroyed, then he doesn't fire at me. If I was slower than him, he would fire at me first, and if I'm still alive, I could fire back at him, right? In this case, we're going to do damage together. Damage is done. Same thing that the shield. You look at the combat. I'm going to inflict 2 damage to him. And you compare that to its defense. In this case, his defense is 9, so I don't even scratch it, right? Then he does the same thing now. He has a damage of 2. I have a defense of 8. By the way, you do scratch him. It's just that when you fight a starship and you damage it less than his defense, there is no point because it's only one fight. It's not like you're going to come back and shoot again. So if you don't completely destroy it, he's still alive. He stays alive, and you don't count how much damage you did. You just, okay, I didn't get to that 9 or more, so it's still good. Now, if fires 2, you have 8, that's 2 damage. So you look at your, you get your die, there was 8, and now you put it at 6. And this is your new health from now on, okay? Because you didn't destroy it, it didn't destroy you, the ship goes away. Alright, so the starship will, if it's not destroyed on the first attack, there is no second attack. The starship just goes away. You put it back on the bottom of the pile here, and then you're done with your mission. What happened is with your explore, this is what they call the explore phase. You're done with it, and you got 2 damage really for it and nothing to show for it. But if you were able to defeat it, let's say you did defeat it, that ship is destroyed and you get 25 points, which counts towards the 400 that you need to win. So you will find a place in next to you where you're going to put your score cards. If you card your score, you put them maybe on this side so you don't mess up with your ship. Put them, and this is all your scoring place where you score all your victory points. And then if you've done with all your action, then the next player goes and does similar action. You can also do something else with the ship. Is, like I told before, is diplomacy the ship. Diplomacy the ship is usually the best way to do it. It's always the best way to diplomacy the ship, but it's a little bit harder to do because you have to equal or greater the speed and diplomacy of the ship you're fighting or you're diplomacying, okay? You're not fighting it. So this one has a speed of 2 and a diplomacy of 2. I have a speed of 2, which I'm fine, but I have zero diplomacy. And diplomacy is not something that's always easy to get. I mean, if you look at the choice we have here, Riker has some diplomacy, Gowon has some diplomacy, and that's it. 2 characters only. So diplomacy is not something that's easy to do, but if you do diplomacy the ship, the great thing about it is you won't get the points, but you can use that ship from now on as your ship. That's the cool thing. So you will take your ship, your basic ship, you put them in your score area, which this one doesn't score anything, but you still put it in your score area so you don't confuse it, and now this becomes your new ship. And this gets you a better defense, 9, but it gives you some diplomacy, some weapons, and some speed from the get-go, where the other one, the basic one, doesn't give you that. So if you had that ship, with the cards you had that, you'll be a little bit better off because now you had 4 speed, 4 attack, 2 diplomacy, and 9 defense. So you can see that already here you had 2 diplomacy and 4 speed. You could have diplomacy, a ship of this kind, easy, just by having those cards here. So that's how you use this, okay? Those are used specifically when you go against ship or in missions. Now, other cards are not ship. Oh, look at that, the USS Enterprise. Are you kidding me? Look at that beast. Wow, it's a lot of ship. Some of them are missions. All right. So here's a mission called the Space Bacteria. And the way you play missions is you look at the card, and let me just put it on the floor. I want to make sure we can read a little bit more. And for example, this card has a flip action. It says when you flip it, your flagship receives 2 damage and you get 1 explore. That simply means that as soon as you turn this card over, the first thing you want to do is this. Your starship is going to get 2 damage. Okay, so if you were at 6 like we were, or at 8, whatever you are, now you become 6. Automatically, there's nothing you can do about it. But also you get 1 explore. What does that mean? That means that every player, one of his action during his turn is he has 1 explore, meaning he can go ahead and turn one of those cards from the explore deck over there. But once you turn this card over, it gives you that explore back. That means that if you decide you don't want to do that mission, okay, that mission is at the start of each turn, the turn player's flagship receives 2 damage unless you can get to that goal. Okay? So those cards are going to have sometimes something that's always on. A permanent thing is that's going to do something bad to the players. I don't think there's any good thing going on. And the only way to remove it is to successfully accomplish this mission, which in this case is to have 6 XP in your hand or in your bridge. I don't. Okay, in my bridge right now I have I have 3 XP in my bridge, so I won't be able to do that mission. So I can't do this mission, or maybe I don't want to do this mission, because every mission, once you accomplish them, you get a reward. For example, here you can search the space deck for a 25 mission point starship, make it your flagship or move it to your point area, then shuffle the deck. So if you had 6 XP and you did that mission, you could look at the space deck, which is this one, look for it, and if you get a starship that has a 25 mission point, like the one we just got, right, 25 mission point, you can take it for yourself or you can put it on your point area. So it's pretty good. It's not the best mission, but it's pretty good. And on top of that, because you did this mission, you get those 50 points. Take that mission card, put them on your point area. Now you're at 50. Plus the 25 ship if you decide not to take it but to use it as point. Now you're at 75 already. But let's say you didn't want to do that mission, or you couldn't do that mission. You will take, let me just put this back on top here. So you will take that mission card and you put it on the bottom here. That means now there is an available mission for anybody who wants to do an explore, right? So this mission is available for the next person. But because I got an explore back here, it says I get an explore, I can go ahead and do it again. I can decide to say, okay, I'm going to take a chance and see if I can do this mission. And this happens to be a fight, so now I'm going to fight that guy, and if I lose, whatever way it goes under, or I take it and I'm over, because this card does not say you get an extra explore. If the card says you get an extra explore, that means if you don't do anything with that card, if it's another mission, for example, you can put it back. Let's take an example. There's a lot of ships. I don't think that was really... the Traveler, let me just go. Okay, here's another mission. Let's say you couldn't do that mission. You also put that mission on the bottom. You can only have 2 missions at a time here. Okay, those 2 missions are available for anybody who wants to do them. If you were picking another mission in the future, okay, let's say you pick another mission, that mission, that's an event, because I'll talk about the events later. Oh my God, there's a lot of starship. Okay, it's another mission. If you were picking another mission and you don't want to do it, then you will have to discard one of those 2 missions. Put this one instead, and this one will go in the discard pile. All right? So you can only have 2 missions at a time. And the 2 missions you have, let me just clean this quick. So as I was saying, you can only have 2 missions here, right? Now, let's say it was your turn and you wanted to do an explore phase, right? You could either pick the top card and whatever is there, you do that. If it's a mission, you can do that or whatever. Or you can choose during the explore phase is to do one of those 2 missions. So if you think you have 6 XP and you know, that's why it's good to have missions here, because you already know what you need. For example, this mission here tells you pretty much that you need 4 speed and 3 diplomacy to successfully accomplish this mission. It gets you 75 points, and rewards you may gain 1 character from the starbase, which is pretty cool, without even paying for it. And this one, we've seen it, if you want the rewards, if you get 6 XP. So if you have this or this, you can do one of those 2 missions. Whereas the space deck is kind of a randomized things, and you don't know what you're getting. You may be fighting a ship that's way too strong for you and lose damage or whatever. So that's what you can do. And if you do the mission, obviously you will take it, and you get only 1 explore. That means you can only do one of those missions. So this is what the space deck is either you fight a starship or you diplomacy it, so you can get it for yourself, which is always the best way of doing it. You get a mission and you can do the mission, or keep drawing until you find a mission you want to do, and keep discarding cards, because you have normally you get an explore every time you pick a card, so it gives you an extra pick at the space deck. But sometimes you get events, and events is simple means it says, by the way, every card says if it's a mission, an event, or starship right there. The events, usually it's simply the text that you read, that it tells you what to do if there's a player with at least with the least mission or mission point. That player gains a card from the starbase and removes the card from whatever. You read what it says, the event, and you do that. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. And then also, you see, as it said, there's a flip action here, means that you get an explore. That means once you've done this event, you can keep on. Of course, you discard it. It's an event. Event always discard events, and you can go ahead and try again. So you see how it can be tedious and long in a turn of one player just to look at those cards, see what you want to do with your cards, how you're going to play them, which order you're going to play your cards. Then finally you're going to explore, keep exploring until you find a mission you want, and then see if you can do the mission and so forth and so forth. It can be, yes, it can be tedious, but again, once you know the game a little bit better, then things are going faster, because in the beginning of the game you will not go and explore too much. You will make sure that you have enough of those good cards to fight whoever is going to come or mission is going to come through that deck. Another thing you can do in your turn is to trash a card, which is pretty much means that some cards, like the ensign here, they're not great. They kind of clog your hand of cards that only have 1 XP. So you want to try to get rid of them. And one way of doing that is to do one of the action you can do on your turn is to trash. So that's the only action you can do. You can do any of the other actions. You can just get the card and discard it. If it's one of those basic cards, you put it back in the deck here. If it's one of the cards that's from the start base, you would put it back here. And if it's one of the basic cards, like a starter card, like this one here, it's a starter card, and it tells you there, right here. I don't know if you can read it. It says starter. Well, if it's a starter card, you just remove it from the game completely. Okay. So that's what you can do also on your turn. All right. So there's a lot of things you have to do on your turn, and but that makes the game interesting. There's also one of the card here is a battle between all the players, and you battle them the same way you would battle a ship, but then you will pick a player and then and look at who's faster, goes first, and give the damage and so forth. So this is pretty much an overview of the rules quickly. I'm sure there is some things I've missed, maybe some mistakes here and there, but in all in all, that's pretty much the way you play that game. And to me, it's very interesting, because if you know any of the other deck building game, from what I've explained to you here, you can tell that this one has a lot of strategy involved. There's a lot of things you can do, and a lot of things you have to think about. That may be something you don't like. Maybe you don't want to think that much. Or that may be something you like because it's different and it deserves maybe a look. So if you like deck building games and you want something a little bit different than the Thunderstone Dominion out there, this is probably one for you. If you don't like the Star Trek universe, doesn't matter. I don't think you need to like it. You don't need to know anybody or any story to enjoy the game. If you love Star Trek, then it should be a no-brainer. So yeah. Try it. It's a pretty cool game, actually. A pretty nice